Hey, I'm about to head back to the studio for a video on something that's really going to motivate you as I talk to the most successful television house flipping show star of all time, Tarek El Moussa. He's the star of HGTV's Flip or Flop and some other shows you're familiar with. Look at the resolve and the resilience that he had. It's really going to motivate you. Also, we learn how you can find excellent deals on distressed properties. He has a technique for doing this that I've never heard about before in my entire life. You're going to learn and you're going to be motivated. Today, it's me and HGTV's Tarek El Moussa. Today's guest is probably best known as the longtime star of HGTV's Flip or Flop. The television program shows him flipping houses and walking through the different hurdles and obstacles in the houses themselves. And he now hosts a show called Flipping 101. And now you might be familiar with some of these shows. Well, he's the star of the most watched house flipping show in history. Welcome to GRE, Tarek El Moussa.
Hey, how's it going today?
Hey, terrific. And you know, before we talk about that turn that very few real estate careers take, that television turn, first tell us about your background and just how you got into the real estate business in the first place, sort of that origin story.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was one show that you missed. The newest show actually just came out last week. It's called the Flipping El Moussas. So that's going to be my third show on the network. Really excited about it. So if you guys haven't seen that show, check it out. It's a ton of fun. But
the Flipping El Moussas, that's with you and your wife.
Yeah. So the original show is Flip or Flop. And then concurrently right now I'm shooting Flipping 101 and the Flipping El Moussas. But I wasn't always filming TV shows and flipping all these houses. So, you know, I came up from a normal family in Buena Park, California. Both my parents immigrated from other countries. And, you know, I found myself graduating high school completely lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. And I knew I wanted success and I just didn't know how to get there. And I was selling kitchen knives at 19 for a company called Cutco. I'm sure the listeners probably have Cutco in their kitchen right now.
Right.
But it turned out like I was a good salesperson because I hustled. I made my calls. I went on my appointments. But unfortunately, this was like 2002, 2003. So all my leads, all my notes were in a binder. And I lost my binder. So because I lost that binder with all my leads, I essentially put myself out of business. And I just didn't have the energy to rebuild a knife selling business. So I was trying to figure out what to do. And I'll never forget this day. I was at a Washington Mutual ATM in Cerritos, California. I'm looking at my ATM. I got almost no money left. And I had one of those moments where I went, and I threw my head up to the side, you know? And when I looked, there was a crooked sign. The sign said, Wise Old Owl Real Estate School. So then I had what I like to call is a defining moment. And a defining moment is a moment in your life that changes the trajectory of your life. So then I thought to myself, you know, I can sell knives. I'm sure I can sell houses. So in that moment, I looked at that sign and I said, I'm going to go sell real estate. So that's what I did. I walked across the parking lot, started taking real estate classes. And I got licensed at 20 years old. My first 6-8 months in the business, totally struck out, man. Made no money. I was young. I was hungry. I was motivated, but I didn't know what to do. And I remember just being so frustrated, ready to quit the business. And one day I found out about a live event that was going into town, thrown by a gentleman named Mike Ferry, who was a real estate coach. Yeah. So I go to this free event. It was at a Buena Park Sequoia Athletic Club. And man, I don't know if you've heard Mike Ferry speak, but this guy's a genius. He convinced me I'd be the top real estate agent in the world. He convinced me I could do anything. He convinced me anything was possible. He opened up my eyes to a whole new world because I had never seen a public speaker and I'd never been inspired like that before. So at the end of the event, I handed him a piece of paper. I said, my name's Tarek El Moussa. You don't know who I am today, but one day you will. And by the way, he knows who I am today. So I ended up signing up for coaching. And at the time, I was 20 years old. I was living in my mom's garage because my girlfriend and I had broken up. I tried to move back to my mom's house. My parents got divorced, so she rented out my bedroom to make extra money. So I was sleeping in a garage with cockroaches and spiders, you name it, spray paint cans, WD-40. And that was my home. It was awful. But you know what? I went all in and I ended up signing up for coaching. And I told myself, this is it. I gave myself 90 days. I said, you got 90 days to make it in real estate or you're going back to school. and I really didn't like school. So here's what I did. I started going after something called expired listings. An expired listing is a listing that was on the market that didn't sell. When that contract ends, it notifies everybody that the home is no longer for sale. So my plan was Monday through Saturday, 12 to 14-hour days, 6 days a week. And then Sunday night, I would do a 3-hour shift. And all I would do all day, every day, is cold call expired listings and for sale by owners over and over and over. And here's what happened. At the end of this 90-day sprint, I was 20 years old. I went from making $0 a month. In 90 days, I made $120,000 in commissions. Within 2 months after receiving those commissions, I ended up moving out of that garage and bought almost $1 million house in Orange County, California. And I'll never forget being a 21-year-old kid with this gorgeous house in the hills with this bathroom with an 8-person jacuzzi and a plasma screen built into the wall, thinking, man, I made it. You know, I thought I made it. I didn't even have any furniture. So my friends worked at the skateboard shop and we brought skateboard benches in as tables and that's it. So that's how I got into real estate. And, you know, a lot of people say it takes so much time to make money in real estate. No, it does not. You can make money super fast in real estate if you know what to do. And that's the bottom line. It does not take years.
Yeah, and it's the doing. I mean, there are so many lessons in what you told us already. You talked about, you know, basically a guru seminar that you went to, you got motivated. And a lot of people wonder, you know, did those seminars really work? And I think the answer is they work if you do. It sounds like you were devoted to actually implementing those things, hiring the coaching, and actually doing the thing.
I am the biggest fan of live events because that's a place for learning, a place for inspiration, a place for networking, a place for growth. Like, you can't replace the power of being in the room of a really good live event. I'm actually throwing my biggest live event I've ever done in Scottsdale this year, April 28th and 29th. It's called the Flipping Summit. And we're going to have a couple hundred investors out there just talking everything real estate, house flipping, buy and hold portfolio, you name it, we're going to be teaching. So that's something I'm real excited about. But, you know, so I made a name for myself pretty quick selling houses. By the time I was 25, 26 or 25, I had teams, I had nice cars, I was living the good life. You know, I was making more money than I had ever thought I would. Unfortunately, it turned out that I wasn't the smartest person alive because something called the Great Recession came around.
Yeah.
And that was a very valuable lesson. You know, I think I was about 25 years old. I had all these listings for sale and nobody was buying them. So I was making no money and I couldn't afford my mortgage payments. I couldn't afford my car payments. So I didn't lose anything. I just saw what was happening. So in this 2006, I sold my house, sold all my cars. And that was December of 06. I sold everything and I moved out of this beautiful house, driving fancy cars. And I rented a tiny little apartment with a roommate. I sold my S500 Mercedes and BMW. And my dad let me borrow his like 1995 Rancher truck with no air conditioning. So I was back to rock bottom. I was like back in that garage. And, you know, in March of 2007, subprime market crashed. And we all know what happened between 2007 and 10. So in 2000, I struggled through 2007, struggled through 2008, 2009, started doing short sales, making some money again. And I was doing incredible deals. And I did this one short sale transaction and I got this deal from door knocking. I used to go knock on doors every day, thousands of doors. It'd be 110 degrees outside. I'd show up, I'm all sweaty. People would bring me in their homes. They'd give me water. They'd feed me lunch. You know, they felt bad for me. But I did this deal. I had a first lien, second lien, third lien, IRS lien, HOA lien. So I worked 11 months on this deal. It was a nightmare. At the end, I got a check for about $7,000.
Oh my gosh, what a lesson. You either get the win or you get the lesson.
Exactly. But here's the lesson. The person I sold it to, they hired a gardener to cut the lawn. They hired a painter to paint the inside of the house. They replaced the carpets. They sold it a couple weeks later, made $130,000.
Oh.
So I was like, well, wait a minute here. I found the buyer. I found the seller. I knocked on the doors. I negotiated with the bank. Why is this person making all the money? So that was another defining moment. So that day I said, well, screw this. I'm going to be a real estate investor. So that was 2000. Yeah, so that was it. So I said, I'm going to be a real estate investor. So of course I went to everybody I knew. And everybody said I was crazy. It was too speculative. I didn't know what I was doing. It was too risky. Everybody gave me every excuse and every reason not to do it. But of course, I don't listen to them. So why am I taking advice from them? They're not real estate investors. And here's the truth. You will never find a real, legit, credible real estate investor that tells you not to become a real estate investor. Right. So, right? Like, so we just get, as humans, we all get bad advice from our peer group. And that's who, we surround ourselves with. That's why I think it's important to go outside of your peer group and listen to shows like this and come on platforms like this, where you can really educate yourself by some of the best professionals in the business, because this knowledge is free. And this knowledge wasn't available 20 years ago when I was doing this stuff. So that's that. So I finally found someone that said yes. And it turned out to be the only person that I knew that actually had money. And that was a real estate investor. So I said, hey, if I get a deal, you want to flip houses? Sure. I was shocked. I'm like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, I'll do it. So I was like, okay, I got to go find a deal. So I went and bought a deal at the auction. It was a condo in Santa Ana. We paid exactly $115,000 for it. About that same time that I bought that condo, I went to another Mike Ferry retreat, but it was called the Superstar Retreat. This is years later in Las Vegas, where there's about 5,000 people. I'm in the very, very back of this room because it's a huge auditorium. And a friend of mine was the vice president of a real estate company, and 2 seats opened up right next to him. So he texted me, hey, come sit in the front. To sit in the front, you got to pay a lot of money or be a VIP. So I took advantage of the opportunity, and I went up there. And at the break, this gentleman came up to us, and I had seen him on stage the day before talking about how he made $800,000 a year selling real estate. And I remember thinking, how in the heck can anyone make $800,000 a year? That's so much money, right? Yeah. So I started talking to him. I'm like, well, what do you do? Then he started telling me how he had local TV shows in Palm Springs, California. I was like, well, what does that do? He says, well, I go places and people recognize me. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it's cool to be known, but like, what does that do? And he goes, but then they work with me and then I make money. I said, oh man, I was like, that is smart.
The know, like, and trust factor. Yes.
Yeah. So in that moment, I wasn't thinking like I would go get on TV. I was thinking, man, this guy's smart. So we get back from Vegas. I think it was a day or two later. And I keep thinking about this conversation. It was like 10 o'clock at night. My ex-wife, Christina, she's going up the stairs. She looks over. She's like, hey, you coming to bed? I said, no, I'm not coming to bed. And I looked at her and I said, I'm going to get us a TV show. And then she started laughing at me. She's like, a TV show. What are we going to get a TV show about? And then I took a second because I didn't know. And I said, well, we just bought our first flip. What if we flip houses on TV? She shook her head, laughed at me, went upstairs. I immediately jumped on Google, typed in Hollywood production companies, went to websites, hit contact, and I just sent them my idea with our pictures. I woke up the next day. They said, send a home video. I got one response, said, send a home video. So on that very first condo I bought for $115, I sent the home video. I documented it, and they loved it. I burned my feet with acid. I electrocuted myself, scratched all my new floors. Painted. All right.
Well, I mean, that sounds like interesting videogenic material, I suppose. But at this point, you must feel like maybe you're getting in over your skis. I mean, you had only been on your first flip at this point.
Yeah, and this is the home video. So then I send the home video. They love it, and then they come back. They're like, "We're going to do a sizzle reel," which is a real professional crew, and they make like a 5-minute mini episode. So what they do is they make the mini episode, and then they send it out to all the networks. Nobody wanted it. We got no responses, never heard back. I'm like, okay. So I just kept, selling houses and trying to learn to flip houses. And about 9-10 months later, I got a call from the production company saying HGTV wants to do a pilot of a house flipping show. So the very third flip I had ever done was the pilot for Flip or Flop. So we shot it in summer of 11. And when it was done, I'll never forget, they said the odds of it getting a series, very slim. And if you do, it's going to take a long time. I swear, within weeks, I got a contract across my desk for a series to do 13 houses in 10 months on national TV.
That's pretty amazing. And you're probably still having to learn a lot at this point because you aren't a very experienced flipper. I mean, you need to prospect for sellers and negotiate deals and walk properties and hire contractors and figure out how to retain those contractors and then get the property sold.
Exactly. So now they want me to do 13 houses in 10 months on TV. Yeah. So I had two problems. Okay. Problem number one. Well, I didn't have any money. Problem number two. I have no idea how to flip houses. That's a lot of houses. In 10 months, how am I going to flip 13 houses? So at the time, I called the only lawyer I had, which took me on a payment plan for the retainer. And I said, well, what's the worst thing that could happen if I sign this thing? And then he goes, well, they can sue you. I looked around my apartment. I said, they can have it. I signed that sucker and I told myself,
what could they possibly take? Yeah.
Whatever it takes to make it happen. And that's exactly what I did.
This is a great lesson in doing. I mean, this is jumping from a plane, skydiving, and hoping there's even a parachute on your back.
Story of my life.
So, all right. So now you're getting some exposure. You're getting some experience. It's not like you had experience being on television, and maybe some people don't, but you really didn't even have any experience, any substantial experience with flipping and seeing the life cycle of a few flips. So did you just learn on the fly, or did that really become part of the show? In fact, if you just kind of let the television producer know you're learning as you go, maybe it's actually more interesting for the viewer that way too.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I learned on the fly. I learned on camera, and I was so stressed out. Like I didn't even care about the camera. So I wasn't nervous to be on TV because my entire life savings were on the line. I had investors' money on the line, and I didn't fully know what I was doing, but I was good at one thing. I was good at getting really good deals.
Yeah.
My specialty has always been negotiating really good deals when I buy real estate. That is what I'm best at, finding deals and negotiating deals. So here's how I did it, because I didn't know how to buy all these houses. So I would work all day and film, 8, 9 in the morning till 8:30 at night. And then every single night between like 9 and 9:30, I would look at all the homes in Southern California that were going to the auction the next day. And then what I would do, I would MapQuest them out. And then from about 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., I used to drive Southern California by all the houses that were going to auction. And the reason that I would drive by the houses is because I needed to bid on houses that weren't occupied. So the only way to verify if they were occupied or not was to drive by them. So there was sleepless months. And here's what happened. So I'd go drive overnight, 30 houses, right? Get to the auction the next day. Of the 30, 25 were postponed. So then I'm down to like 5 to bid on, right? And then I'd go and my max bid would be 300. And then the next guy would be 320, and then 340, and then 360, and then 400. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm at 300. How are they paying 400? Because I was competing against the hedge funds. So I'm thinking, how am I going to get a house? But I did it every single day. And after a couple of weeks, I bid on a property and nobody else bid. And I got a house. And you know what I learned? If I kept showing up, eventually I was going to get lucky. So that's what I did. I just kept showing up, and every now and then I'd get lucky. And that's exactly how I pulled it off.
Yeah, there's a real lesson in both doing and in persistence here. So far, you're listening to Get Rich Education. We're talking with HGTV star Tarek El Moussa. More when we come back. I'm your host, Keith Weinhold.